So I want to welcome you to our Henderson Speaks event tonight. We appreciate you coming. Of course, we always have some keeping things that we need to take care of. We're excited to be here tonight to honor the architect Paul Revere Williams. And we've got Mark Hall Patton again moderating for us. And I'll let him introduce the guests, but just a couple of announcements. We do have some benefits, slowly but surely. We're starting to get benefits if you have your membership card. For instance, at Goldcasters now they will change out a watch battery for $4.99. At the Human Being Coffee House on Lake Mead across from St. Rose, 15% off drinks. Just show them your membership card. And now I'd like to also remind you of our upcoming next Henderson Speaks. It's October 19th. It won't be here, so mark it on your calendars. It's going to be at the Clark County Museum, starting at the same time at 6:30, but the doors open at 5:30, and we will be celebrating the 80th year of the Clark County Museum, the history of Carver Park, and workers at BMI. Also, that event is being sponsored by Commissioner Jim Gibson. And also in the audience today, a shout out to Derek Wise, who is kind of coordinating that. So we appreciate you doing that, Derek. And again, membership. I know everyone here is probably a member, but tell your friends, your relatives, anybody, $25. We really make it easy now. You just get on the website and you can click. They'll take your credit card and you'll automatically renew for now on. So we try and make it easy as we can. And so with that, Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you to give some remarks and introduce the panel. Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it. Oh my goodness. Actually, I was trying to keep it a secret that nobody would win and then I would take it home. Mark has graciously donated this bobblehead, and as you came in, you picked up a raffle ticket. So we'll do that at the end of the. Matter of fact, I'll let you. When tickets, we'll have Mark draw. Is that okay? And then if I happen to get it, it's not fixed, but. All right. With that, Mark, we'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
All righty. Thank you all for coming tonight. Going to have a great program. I know that. I'm looking forward to it, as I'm going to learn here tonight as well. We have two wonderful speakers. Our first one is Carmen Beals. She serves as the Associate Curator and Outreach Director with the Nevada Museum of Art. Now, that doesn't mean that she's come all the way down from Reno. She actually lives out in Sky Canyon, so she lives down here. She curates exhibits with a focus on African American culture and is responsible for assisting the museum as it increases its offerings of statewide programming. Her latest exhibition, entitled Jana Ireland on the Architectural Legacy of Paul R. Williams in Nevada, is an exhibit that is currently showing in New York and features the designs of trailblazing architect Paul Williams through the contemporary lens of Jana Ireland. This exhibition has been highlighted in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, and PBS. She also serves as a committee co-chair for the Nevada Museum Diversity Team. Carmen holds a master's in museum studies from Harvard University Extension School, very nice. Completed the UCLA Anderson Management Executive Program and has a BS in Civil Engineering. Very nice. From Prairie View A&M University. Our other speaker tonight, I love phones. No, I don't. Yes, I'm going to let Claytee White, who is a good friend of mine and understands how much I love my phone, and is the director of the Oral History Research Center at UNLV. I'm going to let her give you some idea of her background, which is extensive.
So this is just briefly because I did not send my bio until I got here today. So So I've been at UNLV now as the director of the Oral History Research Center for 20 years. We're having a big celebration October 23rd to celebrate that. So just feel free to just come out to the Beverly Theater downtown, and we're going to celebrate that evening. So it's been 20 years since I've done that. We've done all kinds of projects here in the city. Asian American, African American, different communities throughout the city, like the John S. Park community. But one of the things that I'm probably the most proud of is that I got a telephone call once from the university right down the street from you, and one of the professors wanted to learn to do oral histories. And I said, of course, I'll come out and I'll teach your class how to do oral histories. So I did that. And then I went to, a few years later, the library called, and the library said, we want to start collecting oral histories. I said, sure, I'll come out and teach you how to do that. And then a year later, the Historical Society said, we want to learn to do oral histories. And I said, wait a minute. I said, you're all in Henderson. We need to start a collective. And that's what you've done. You started a collective, so not everybody is knocking on the same door to interview the same people. So those are the kinds of things we do at the Oral History Research Center. So that's me.
All righty. Now, the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask a question of our panel. They will decide who's going to answer, or both will answer the questions. At the end, we will open it up for questions from the audience. Hold your questions till the end. It's the only thing that I would ask. So, oh, and by the way, just a quick shout out to Sean. Great article. Just wanted to note that. So, just to start out, given the subject tonight, who was Paul Revere Williams?
Here we go. Okay, so I added a couple of visuals here so that you will be able to see Paul Revere Williams. Number one, he was a very immaculately dressed individual, which you will see that expression throughout his designs. So to give you a history, Paul Revere Williams was born in Los Angeles, California in 1894. By the time he was 4 years of age, he and his older brother were orphans. Both of his parents passed away because of tuberculosis. To give you a background about him, his foster parents took him in. They were members of the same church of his parents, and the foster parents immediately recognized his brilliance and encouraged him on his educational journey. In elementary school, he was known as the class artist. Later on, a local builder recognized his talent, and in high school, he enrolled in Polytechnic High School and let his instructor know that he wanted to be an architect. From there, the architect stated, who ever heard of a Negro architect? Your people could not afford you, and whites would not want to hire you. This did not deter Paul Revere Williams at all, as you can see. Instead, it inspired him. And from there, he enrolled in his first architectural school, which was the Bow Institute of Design in Los Angeles, to learn European architecture. He was an individual of many firsts. In 1916, he won his first architectural competition, and then he enrolled in University of Southern California, where he majored in architectural engineering because they did not have an architectural program at the time. And while he attended University of Southern California, he enrolled in evening courses, 5 different schools to be exact, to polish and hone in on his particular skills. He became the first African American to graduate from USC in 1919. His internship experience included work with master planners from the city of Beverly Hills, a landscape architect, and city planner Reginald Davis Johnson, who specialized in Mediterranean-styled homes. And initially, he then specialized in developing Mediterranean and English-style homes. And we're going to look at just a few of them today. So this one was actually designed in 1928 on the left, and you can still see that it's standing today. This other one is a Spanish colonial style home that was in 1938, and it still stands today. And this is some of the interiors. This is very iconic, his beautiful winding staircases that you will see throughout a lot of his properties and structures in Los Angeles, where he actually designed over 2,000 structures in Los Angeles and 3,000 structures throughout his career. This is Lon Chaney's home, and that goes into the 1930s, where he became known as the architect to the stars. From here, you can see the interior of this particular design. And then with the architect of the stars, he designed Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's home, as well as others, and I know that Claytee will name some of those as we go along in our presentation. Now, this particular photo here shows him drawing in a particular way that I would let Claytee explain.
So, because of racism in his day, and you heard what the professor told him, that you're going to be, your clients will have to be white people. So at that time, in the career that she's told you about, he couldn't sit beside his clients. So he had to sit across the desk from them, and he taught himself to draft upside down. And he could draft upside down as quickly as most architects could the right side up. So that was one of the techniques that he used so that he could design the kinds of homes that he wanted to design and that his clients would never be uncomfortable.
So by the late 1930s and early 1940s, Paul Revere Williams was 60% of his designs were commercial. So this is the former MCA Corporation that is still standing today. I can go there every single time. It's right on the outskirts of Beverly Hills. And this, as he became became approximately 75, he started revealing some of his favorites. And this was, every time he passed by this, he would say, "That's a fine piece of architecture." And then the Saks Fifth Avenue building, which is also in Beverly Hills. These were actually commissioned by the these commercial organizations because his outstanding real estate, his properties, they wanted those luxurious elements from the home to be embedded into their establishments so that people could come and enjoy them.
I used to go shopping in that location, had no idea who had designed the building.
And then there's the iconic Beverly Hills Hotel. Now, the one thing that I love about this is that the Beverly Hills signage, that's his handwriting. And I'm just always impressed when I go there. He actually renovated the hotel. It was originally erected in the 40s, but then they asked him to redesign it into a luxurious hotel. And it's understated, but it's a luxurious, fabulous design that you will be able to see throughout the restaurants. In this fountain room, you can go in anytime. It was a room that they were going to throw away, and he was like, no, I can actually develop something else for you all to enjoy, and it's still standing today. And last but not least, Claytee and I have gone back and forth with different researchers, and we noticed that there's a myth saying that he did not design this theme building, and that's partially true. He was the master designer of the Los Angeles International Airport. So as a master designer, other individuals designed, and he approved it or did not approve it. So
we're in the night. Oh, you better ask us questions now.
Did you have something to add? That's all right. I'm certainly not going to stop you. You kind of alluded to it, but where was he most active? Was it just Southern California?
He was mostly active, mostly in Southern California, but throughout his career, you will see that he had a couple of international commissions.
Ah, okay, interesting. So what brought him to the Las Vegas area?
So the first time that he came here to design property was during World War II. He was doing some work for the federal government, had closed his office temporarily because of the war effort, and he came here to develop a piece of property for the federal government. Turns out that it was Carver Park. Carver Park is that housing development that a lot of you know about. Because of that and Victory Village, this city starts. So do we have a copy? Do we have a picture of Carver Park? When you look at Carver Park, so he knew that he was designing for African Americans. So he wanted to design the kind of building that would be a little more luxurious than where they were coming from. So African Americans were migrating to southern Nevada from places like Fordyce, Arkansas, and Tallulah, Louisiana, and small places in Mississippi. So he wanted to give them a place that was a little more elegant looking, even though it had to be a government building. But he wanted something that was just a little different from what they came from in the South. And so this is what Carver Park looked like. 324 different units. And most of you know more of this history than I do. Unfortunately, it was not completed until 1943 because the work on the magnesium plant started a lot earlier than that. Most African Americans who worked at the plant, and a lot of them did, lived in the West Side. So they drove back and forth every day. And because black culture was really on the West Side, most of them, even when this property was completed, most of them did not move into it. So and some of you know, Rick knows, that some of the housing in Carver Park, white people moved into it after a few years. Victory Village was full already, and Carver Park was not. And later on, some military men lived in it as well. So this is Carver Park. Today, we only have left the Elks Lodge is the only evidence left of Carver Park.
That's true. That's the only one that's still standing.
Yes.
And do we know, how he was chosen to design this?
When the war broke out, he closed his doors at his Wilshire Boulevard office, and he joined the Navy as an architect. And so they are the ones who commissioned him to design Carver Park what she just stated.
Oh, very nice. Okay. So how did he impact beyond Carver Park? How did he impact the Vegas Valley?
So Carver Park was not his only contribution to Las Vegas, to this valley. In 1949, he designed another area for African Americans to live. It was called Berkeley Square. Now, it wasn't actually built until 1954, 1955, but his design states that he made that leap in 1949. Oh, I just saw my name. Okay, so this is Berkeley Square. It is in the heart of the West Side community at D and what is the other street? So right off of D Street, not that far from Owens, is where this neighborhood is today. There is a marker there denoting this area, 164 homes, I believe. And this area is now on the National Register of Historic Places. Our first black doctor, first black dentist, and other professionals in the black community lived in that area. And we still have some people here today who lived in that area originally. A professor at UNLV named Esther Langston told us stories about this neighborhood and what it was like. Her husband was in the military, and she told us stories like when other military men were out of town on Saturday mornings, all the men would make sure that his lawn was mowed and hedges were clipped and everything. And so it was a real community in Berkeley Square. It is still there today, and it is being gentrified. So do you know the Property Brothers? The Property Brothers have renovated 2 of the houses in Berkeley Square. And one of the brothers, not one of the 2 on television, but there's another brother who actually lives in Berkeley Square now. A very popular area. Other influences, lots of other influences as well. How many do you want us to talk about?
Well, I was going to say both other influences and flow into which ones still stand as well.
Okay, so which one still stands? We have a cathedral, and we have the lobby of the La Concha Hotel. So how many of you have been to the Neon Museum? Okay, so that lobby with that shell that goes like that, that comes from the La Concha Hotel. They moved that part of the building over to the Neon Museum several years ago, many years ago. So that is an example of his work. And if you are the cathedral on Las Vegas Boulevard, Guardian Angel, that is one of his works that's still here. Are those the only 3 that are still here?
They're still here in southern Nevada, but northern Nevada, yes, they have quite a few.
Yeah. And Highland Square, I forgot about
Highland Square.
Yes.
Yeah, Highland Square we discovered later on. It's the second phase of Berkeley Square, and it is adjacent to the Berkeley Square area.
Yes. And we discovered that, and this woman in the community said, oh no, Berkeley Square is not the only thing that Paul Williams built. We think that Highland Square was also constructed by him. I said, oh no way. And she put me in her car, and she took me over, and then I went and got Carmen and an architect and took them over there, and they said, this is the same, it's the same plan. It is the same architect that did these houses. So we can credit her and a woman in the community for finding this new area where Paul Williams designed his small houses.
Yes.
So how about some of the other buildings that he designed that we don't have anymore?
So in 1955, he was commissioned to design with another architect, Royal Nevada Hotel and Casino. It opened, like we said, in 1955, and it stayed open for 7 years until it was acquired by the Stardust. And I have a photo of it, another photo of it in a little thing that some photos that I actually printed out, and it in the actual crown that's on there, it was actually preserved by the Neon Museum, so you can see it when you go into the Neon Museum calls it the Boneyard. You can go and see it when it's in the Boneyard, and hopefully they preserve that to its original content.
Oh, I didn't know that they had preserved the crown.
Yes, and it was one of Yesco's first designs.
So you know the Yesco company that designed a lot of early signs in Las Vegas? Wow.
Another fun one that I love is the El Morocco.
And I like the El Morocco because you can see the beautiful design, but this is the Damani family that commissioned this, that owned this, and the Damani family is designing another project that they're planning to build next year. And they're going to use some of the influences from Paul Williams' designs that he did for their family, because they own not only the El Morocco, they also own the La Concha. And they're going to use some of those influences. So I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this when they build this new property.
Yes. And then we have the Skylift Magicab. It was originally a joint venture where Lockheed Martin commissioned him to develop these renderings. And it was to me, it felt like it was some of the original phases of what we now know as the monorail.
Yes. And there are people looking for photographs right now. They called us the other day.
Oh.
Looking for a photograph of that, an original photograph, not just the copy that I don't know where it came from, but they would like to see one of the original photographs. We don't know if they'll be able to find it or not.
That's Jonna's work. So that's it from...
Do you know whether his work, because I know that he did a book on small house design, and he did the subdivisions and that. Do you know whether his work on Carver Park had any influence on his small house designs?
In my opinion, it did not have a lot of influence on his... Oh, here is another one. The racing. We'll get to that after our conversation. To me, Carver Park is more like his public housing. So this particular public housing unit is in Los Angeles, as well as this one is Long Beach. It was designed for military units. That, to me, that is what they represent or similar to, versus his small houses, because a lot of his small homes, they were designed low pitch roofs, 2 to 3 bedrooms, and with a lot of room around the house so that individuals can have the ability to expand as their family grew.
Okay.
And I love Berkeley Square because of the backyards. Even today, the backyards are wonderfully designed and large. So there's one woman that I'm able to just knock on her door and say, hey, can I show your backyard to somebody? And it's because she maintained it so well, and just an amazing property.
Okay, and is any of the Berkeley Square or Highland Square houses in the small houses and book?
You can see a lot of similar architectural designs and inspiration within those small house, the small home books, 2 of them that he developed in the 1940s and 50s.
Okay. Yeah, the point is he put out some books to help other architects to think about how to design small homes.
That's correct. Yes, because at that particular time, it's like, as Mark Twain said, history may not repeat itself, but it sometimes rhyme. We're in the same situation that we were in right after World War II, looking for affordable housing. So although he could afford a home in Beverly Hills or Palisades Park, he always had the heart of wanting and the desire of wanting individuals to own a home. And so he, like other architects of his time, found alternative methods for them to become homeowners.
Now, given what he was told when he first started, how was he treated within the architectural community?
So I think that we know about the racism that he faced, but I think they were forced to see his genius. So I don't think there was any unfriendly competition in the field among other architects. But we know that some of the awards that he received from architectural associations, the most prestigious didn't come until after his death. So we also see what it looks like when you don't look like everybody else in the room. So we get to see that. I think that, to give you an example of how people in the movie industry saw him, Frank Sinatra wanted somebody to show him how to be a movie star. So he thought that if he could get a Paul Williams house designed by Paul Williams, a black man, that he could learn to live like a movie star is supposed to live. So it gives you an example of how people in the movie industry saw him. And the elegance you see with him sitting in the chair with these beautiful suits on, Frank Sinatra thought that was, that's the way that he wanted to face life. So I don't think there was that much animosity in that industry, and I think that's why he was the builder of the stars. But I'm sure that he faced it in lots of other arenas.
Yes. Yes, and as Claytee said, they could not help but acknowledge his brilliance. He was very well respected in the field of architecture by his peers, and individuals actually, when they knew that he was going out on his own, they actually gave him commissions. His first commission was a $100,000 home, and so he was like, I've only lived in a house that was $10,000. How am I going to figure this one out? So that individual then took him under his wing and allowed him to see those different homes that had a variety of luxurious elements that came to $100,000. And other former employers also, and his USC classmates also supported him. And just last but not least, with what Claytee stated, an architectural historian suggested that they intentionally sought after him because they admired, not only because they admired his work, but because they believed hiring him would demonstrate their liberal values and support of racial equity.
that pretty much gets through the questions that I had. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to questions from the audience. Do we have any questions from the audience? Sean, yes.
I've got two. The first one's a quick one. The proposed monorail venture thing, was that here or Los Angeles?
Here.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Here?
Yes. The Skylift Magic Cab.
Okay. And the second, as far as him breaking into like, getting a reputation as, with the celebrities and such, do we know like what was the kind of big break that got his foot in the door and kind of got him known to that world?
Yes, it was by auto magnate E.L. Cord. Are any of you familiar with E.L.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So E.L. Cord I believe it's 1932, he put out a request for proposal because he wanted to build a 32,000 square foot home on 30 acres of land in Beverly Hills, California. Well, all of the other architects that responded to the RFP, which is the acronym for Request for Proposal, stated that it would take them 2 weeks to provide a response to him. He called Paul Revere Williams because he heard of his ethics, work ethics, and Paul looked and said, "Oh, 2 days." He stayed up overnight, provided the renderings to him within 2 days, and E.L. Cord immediately hired him, not just for that particular project, but for 3 other homes that he built, one in Oregon, that one in Beverly Hills, and later on one in Central Nevada, Dyer. And the house was so magnificent that it was the first time. It actually was featured in Architectural Digest, and that made Paul Revere Williams a man of another first, being the first African American to be published in a national architectural magazine. And then from there, the house was destroyed in the 1970s, and people from all over the country flew in just to get a piece of that particular home.
He designed a house in Dyer, Nevada.
Yes, in World War II, during World War II.
Okay.
I think the family
That's started.
isolated. I think the family wanted to be safe and isolated.
Oh, they were.
We were wondering, where is Dyer, and is the house still there?
Yes, the house is still there. I do have a photo. I am going to find it for you. Right there. Yes, and so this E.L. Cord commissioned him to purchase this home, to design this home, because he knew before the war broke out that there was going to be a war. And so he thought that the war was going to break out in California. However, he was wrong, as we know. And he and his second wife and his 3 little children, 3 daughters, they lived in that house that's featured right there for a number of years, and they continued to keep that particular property until the 1970s. And he found Dyer, Nevada, because he purchased a silver mine. And so he would fly over Dyer, Nevada every time he went back and forth from Los Angeles to the silver mine in northern Nevada.
I'm going to drive through there tomorrow.
Oh, well, stop by.
Yeah, it's on the way up to Bridgeport.
Yes, it's called the Circle L Ranch.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. It's up, I think that's Fish Lake Valley, isn't
That's
it?
correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's Fish Lake Valley. So I can show it to you on a map, but okay, there you go. Yeah, Sean.
Does anybody live in the house? Is it preserved as a historic site?
It's not preserved as a historic site, and the individual who lives there actually cares for the land. They I don't know the proper way. They grow hay. I don't know. I just sell big bundles of hay, and he's like, I get up at 5 in the morning and make this hay and put it on my truck. So I don't know exactly what that's called, but it's a farm, but it's beautiful. The inside interior, it's knotty pine wood. The vaulted ceilings are there. Even the basement, it's fabulous. So.
Is there a biography on Paul Revere Williams or something that we can read more about him, his life?
Yes. So there are 2 books that were produced by his granddaughter, who's still alive, Miss Karen E. Hudson. One of the books, it's out in the lobby area, or it's back there. Oh, okay. Oh, no, I can. It's called Classic Hollywood, and that sort of pays homage to him and sort of talks about his biography. And then there's another book, but it's out of print. But you could still get it for like $350 if you're interested.
That one is probably the one that you might want to buy.
Yeah. And then there's a book that just came out last year. Thank you so much. That briefly speaks about him, but a lot of the nuts and bolts of his work and his contracts and the everyday administrative work, unfortunately, that was burned during the LA riots in 1992. But the Getty has a lot of his architectural renderings, and they should come out with an exhibition in 2026 to tell a little bit more about his work.
We should do a movie.
They should.
I think so too.
You're right.
Yes, I want to cast. I want to do the casting.
Yes, sir.
You stated earlier that the only remaining building of the Carver Park was the Elks Lodge.
Yeah.
Is there any mention or tribute to him in that building?
Not that I remember. I walked through it once, and it's been drastically modified. It was originally the single men's cafeteria, but it's been modified because the Elks have used it for many, many years, and it's been added on to and that. But it's the last building standing from Carver Park. Everything else has been torn down, sort of like Victory Village.
What was it originally?
What?
What was the building originally?
The single men's cafeteria. There was some housing for single men as well. There was family housing. There was housing for single men because it was housing for workers for the basic magnesium.
We had our school party there when we graduated from high school.
Oh, how cute.
At the Elks or at Carver Park?
Okay. Yeah.
1962, 1959. we had-
Oh my God.
Did you take photographs?
No, I wish we had.
But it's still standing there, and you know, I'm sure that I know I was able to finagle going through it because we were trying to put up an historical marker there, and the Elks weren't interested. They were worried that they wouldn't be able to tear it down. An historic marker will not stop you from tearing down a building. I mean, with or without, they tore down Jim Thorpe's bar a few years ago on Boulder Highway here. So, you know.
So if you couldn't persuade them, we know that.
Yeah, well, we may try again.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so, but it's the one thing that's left. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank our speakers for being,
One other question, was any of his other family members, his children interested in architecture or?
Oh, the granddaughter is the one that she just talked about the granddaughter, And she can probably talk about the granddaughter a little more.
Well, unfortunately, none of them were interested in architecture. There was one, he had 4 kids. One of them died as an infant. That was Paul Revere Williams Jr. And the other girls, they did not. One of them wanted to go into architecture, but then when they realized, oh, this is what architecture is like, they changed their mind. And then he tried to convince his grandkids to go into architecture, and they did not. So unfortunately, no one carried on that legacy, but Karen Hudson does a fabulous job of continuing his legacy through her writing, and she is working on another book, and she started a foundation, and that inaugural gala is going to be hosted at the Beverly Hills Hotel on October 11th, if you're interested in going.
Which year?
This year.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
You had mentioned at one point he did something about a racetrack here.
Oh, yes. Okay. Let me find it.
I'm going to see if I can remember that story.
There it is.
So at one point, so was it the 30s? It was before, oh, wow, 1947, good.
Okay.
So at one time, we were going to have a racetrack in the area of the,
Westgate.
okay, yes, thank you. The Westgate Hotel, which was the Hilton at one time. Across the street is where the golf course is. So in that area, because the property went to 3 places after it was closed, and those were 2 of the places that got part of the property. But we thought we were going to be a racing center here in the South, in Las Vegas. So the crowds came at the beginning because he designed this beautiful building. There was another architect that worked with him on this building. And they designed this beautiful building, and then the season started, and they had people that showed up for the first 2 or 3 days, and then it began to dwindle and dwindle. So it just wasn't going to be a place for horse racing here. The weather did not, we couldn't do it in the weather that we had.
Was that Joe W. Brown's racetrack at one time?
Yes.
Okay.
We went to a concert there before it was torn down. It
Oh,
ended
my
up
gosh.
being just kind of a venue for whoever wanted to put something on.
Did you take pictures? Oh my God!
Now, there are other photographs of this, but it was open for, I think it was a month.
Yes,
And
something
then
like
shut
that.
down. They tried a second year, but it never made enough to cover the costs.
Yeah.
And it just failed. It's one of 3 racetracks that were tried in the Vegas Valley. One of them right up here at Racetrack, out here in Henderson, that was going to be a dog track, which is a bad idea because they didn't have any dog racing days that weren't in the middle of summer available. Not a good time. And when they were allowed to build it, they had to make it a horse racing track as well. They tried that. It didn't work out here. That's why we've got a whole subdivision named for racing names. Ask the guy who wrote the book on street names. But yeah, I didn't realize that Paul Williams had designed this.
Yes.
This was one of the great failures.
That's right.
But not because of the design.
That's
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
The
You
guy
ha-
was really a swindler who did that.
Yeah.
You have to tell me, how did the racetrack look when you went into the interior of the, because we don't have any interior shots.
I don't think we went inside.
Oh, you just-
We all went in there.
Oh, okay.
Inside thing there.
Okay, thank you.
But they discovered soon enough it wasn't just people. Horses can't race in this kind of Neither could the dogs. But when they had the racetrack open here, they hired young kids, 2 of my boys, to come up and work the dogs, run them and feed them, and you know, we thought that was going to be a great thing, but that didn't take off either. And I didn't take any pictures.
I wasn't going to ask that time. Oh, wow.
So, any other questions?
One more thing. One picture said that something about Googie. Yeah. Googie. What is that?
Googie is the architectural style that the La Concha was actually designed in. And it is synonymous with mid-century modern design. And it also speaks to, it's highly styled, and the shell was created because it used thin layers of concrete with a lot of glass. It was very economically efficient, and Damani's request was to have something that was highly stylized and very cost-effective, and that La Concha hosted Muhammad Ali, the Carpenters, the Gipper, Ronald Reagan, and so many other celebrities because it was so eye-catching at the time.
It was the first place I stayed when I came here and applied for the job.
See, I told you, fabulous people stay there.
It was a dump then, I have to tell you, but you know.
And no gaming.
No.
So no gaming because they needed more hotel rooms at the time. So it was just a perfect place.
And Derek, isn't the sign at the Neon Museum?
What's left of it, yes. The base of it, as you see in that picture, is there, and then a few of the letters, the E and the L, are lost as far as anybody knows.
Okay, but part of the sign is at the Neon Museum, as well as
That's the shell.
entry.
That's the main thing.
Oh, anything? Any other questions?
You just covered it so well.
All righty. Well, I want to thank our speakers. I learned a lot this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.